And what digitalization looks like at the Zumtobel plant in Dornbirn, that's what we're going to find out now by Martin Winter. He is the Vice President Operations of the plant Dornbirn at Zumtobel Lighting, and he has actually many years of experience in digitalization of production and logistics. So I'm very pleased to be welcoming him. Hello, Martin Winter.
Yeah, nice to be here.
How are you today?
I'm absolutely fine.
That's
and
good.
I'm glad that I have the opportunity again to speak at the Zumtobel Industry Trialogues to so many people. And especially I'm glad that I have the ability today to talk about logistics and digitalization.
I can imagine. And
Both are very exciting topics.
Are they? Yes, of course. That's why we're talking about them. Well, I leave you to it, to your presentation. And after that, I will be asking some questions.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
So welcome from me as well. I would like to take you a little bit to our very exciting logistics journey. So give you some insight view on what we are doing at Zumtobel right now. And that's why I've called it logistics journey. A journey somehow starts. Our journey has already started. And many journeys in our lives end. Logistics journeys never end. So I give you a little bit of overview right now. So we'll talk about where do we come from with our logistics journey, what do we want to achieve, and what do we need to do right now. And finally, I'd like to tell you where are we now on this journey, and we'll discuss with Anja some of the lessons learned that we have already taken from that. What you see right now is a screenshot of our current Zumtobel light system. This is the system how we manage the plant. It looks not very appealing, and it isn't. For the people who use it, of course, it's easy. They know exactly the number code they need to punch in, and they get some information about material that is somehow in the plant, and they can order the material for existing jobs to be done. And it's just about administration of material. That's not even more. And we like to take more in the future of an electronic supported system. This is a picture of production. This is where we assemble light fields. This is one of our innovative products. You do not see much innovation because it's covered by cardboard, it's covered by material that is stored, that is needed for the next job. But we can do better. And for doing that, we are achieving new things. And we use software, of course, software-based. Today we work with SAP, and we extend the usage of SAP in the plant heavily over the next months. We are implementing SAP Extended Warehouse Management and SAP ME for manufacturing execution. Both are huge packages that we have difficulties to digest that, and that's why we have taken an external consultant to help us. ConCircle is the name of that external consultant that gives us insight on how we do that best possibly and how we implement it within a given budget and within a given time frame. So that is the goal, to go with an SAP Analytics Cloud as the coverage of everything, where we collect all data, where we can drive analysis and make a plan for future actions from there. We want to have a detailed scheduling, what you see in the upper right corner of that slide, that we use Konos. That is a software that is provided by this company ConCircle, and it helps us to improve our on-time delivery rate. It's a much better planning tool that we have today, and it helps us also to supply the material that is needed, so available to promise, and it considers even missing parts that we can compensate this by change of the planning. Exception in material handlings are taken care of, and we do if we need capacity planning. This is essential, especially since we have a staged process that goes from pre-manufacturing, handling with steel, finally forming the steel, stamping, welding, we do powder coating, and finally it ends up somewhere in assembly. And all this needs to be considered as the whole picture, and it needs to be planned like the whole processes everywhere. And this is possible with our new software solution. Then we have material handling, we have mobile applications in the future. That is essential that people on the forklift truck can apply to material. People at the machine can scan in with what machine they are and can get machine conditions from there, and they can get the order numbers and everything they need to do their job without moving back to a terminal somewhere in the office. In the end, we want to achieve a better traceability, what you see on the left side. Today, we would barely speak of traceability. Every individual luminaire in the future will have its own individual number. From there on, we can derive who has produced it, when, using what components of what batch number. This is something we need, especially in case of warranties. Fortunately, we do not have many cases of this. And it needs, of course, to help to phase in new products, to phase in and phase out improvements. And this is all for better control of how we do it and keep record of that. Operator guidance will be coming to the next level. People will have screens next to their workshops to know exactly what they need to do with instructions, and they will all increase the control of everything we do and to keep up the quality. In the end, the logistics will change. We will not have many places where we store material around where people work. We will drive the material automatically to the work centers based on the orders they are handling at this moment. On the picture to the lower left, you see a picture that is taken in Spennymoor. That is one of our lighting plants in the UK, where we already use automatic guided vehicles to a large success, and we want to drive that to the next level, where the vehicles have some intelligence by themselves, know how to drive from A to B just based on an order they get from the system. And today, the AGVs we use in Spennymoor just have a fixed route, and this is lacking from flexibility where I dream of we should have in a plant of a certain size. This is all very cool, and it will all be a bright future, but it's a hard way to go. First of all, it's most important that we create an optimal analog world. It's so painful to digitize a process that is not perfect, and then you have finally a digital process, but it's just reflecting an imperfect world. And we're trying to create the best analog system before we go into digitalization, because it means to avoid creating a digital copy of an expensive process. So we first of all started to analyze the value streams in the plant. We streamlined the main value streams as good as possible. There are always things you can't move, you can't put somewhere else, like a powder coating center. And then finally, we are in the process of adapting the plant layout accordingly. Just to give you an example, this is a material flow chart. You won't see much in this picture anyway, but the many numbers and lines reflect the way the material flows just for one product, the light fields 3. So material is traveling through the plant for different reasons. There are injection molding stations, there is powder coating, which I've already mentioned. There is an assembly process, there's packaging, and it's a long trip of the material, and that is a reason why it takes too long to make such a luminaire. We did value stream analysis for all the products we have in the plant. This is just an example again for light fields. You see where value is created, you can visualize where value is being just not created, but things happening, like a transport from A to B, like a buffer, like unnecessary things that we need to avoid. So bringing that clearly on the table helps us to organize it much better than it was in the past. And then we need to select the optimal material supply concept for each material, for each use case. Simple materials that has been used every day for almost every luminaire you can supply in Kanban system. That is the cheapest way to bring material to the line. It does not require a second pickup and drop. It does not require to pre-count it. So we do that for all the simple materials that are in use every time, like wires, caps, or even steel coils are supplied by Kanban to the presses and cannot or should not be ordered by order. So then we implement a supermarket concept in Dornbirn. The commissioning of these materials will take place some hours before we need it, so we are sure we have everything together and it's of the good quality. And then we implement quick access areas for the large items we need for assembling, like housings or luminaire frames or glasses which easily break or have easily quality problems. And then we need to schedule, we're already in the process, to implement scheduled milk runs which supply things on the hour exactly to the time when it's needed for assembly. But this needs all much more control and electronically supported control than we have today. We have had a cooperation with an external supplier, EPOL of Germany, who did a lot of analysis how much time we spend for certain logistics processes in the plant. They did an analysis for weeks on the shop floor, counting numbers, counting times, seeing how many times the logistics operators are moving from A to B. And then they created simulations for us to say, if we change the logistics processes to another way, how many hours we can save. And this was essential for our decision to go for those different tracks of Kanban, supermarket and pre-commissioning area, to see that as an optimum for the analog world. In the end, what we did is we checked our warehouse sizes. Where should the warehouses be in the plant? And what size should you have? And while looking through the warehouses, we identified that we have too many products which are simply there. They are not moved to the extent we should have it in a warehouse. So we eliminated many of the surplus of materials. We decided to go for less buffer stocks for any safety processes. So safety stocks have gone down to the risk adapted level we should have it. And that helped us to reduce space requirements and make space more living in the plant. And then, while we do that in parallel, we started to create the digital factory. We developed and implemented best practice logistics processes. That's why we had Concircle in-house, who have implemented SAP EWM and SAP ME and many other companies before, and could help us indicating this could be a better process, this could be the best process that they have seen anywhere else. And we said goodbye to many processes we have had in use for 20 years in Zumtobel and said, no, we should not digitalize a copy of our today's poor world. We should go for the ideal world as good as we can. So we are now in the change process by creating better logistics processes and implement a new planning system, which I've already mentioned. And we also implement the warehouse management. This all comes together. It all needs to do with basic data. So right now, my team is overworking all basic data that we have for materials, for routings, and everything to have it up properly when we start going live. And then the next thing is my dream to implement automatic internal transportation. So we like to deliver the finished goods to our distribution center by AGVs, and then also deliver materials from the warehouse to the assembly lines. Our Project Alpha is a new product that comes into the market in almost 2 years, and there we have a reference concept being set up right now for doing this highly automated, with all materials being run and supplied to the assembly line automatically. So this helps us to discover the future. This is a screenshot of Konos, which allowed detailed scheduling. Indeed, this is now live since 2 weeks, and we are now experimenting with it in parallel to the existing system to see how reliable it is. But it's working, and we are just spending hours of time for every individual working with it to get trained. The training must be documented well enough to share it with everybody else in the plant who require and have access to Konos. Then we will provide automatic jobs for the material supply to the plants, to the lines everywhere. And finally, in the end, we can execute production based on a system that tells us step by step what product needs to be made on lines, in what order, to match the whole process network that we have all over in the plant. And this visibility and transparency will help us to do the right things and will enable us to react quickly when there are disturbances like machine failures, like materials missing, something that is not the rarely as sometimes thought. Materials missing is almost daily occurrence right now, and it will help us to overcome that easier than with our manual tools today. Where are we now? As already mentioned, we are creating the optimal analog logistics processes already in parallel, and we are in the process now of adapting the plant layout. So we move production lines, we move people's jobs from A to B. Further on, we select the optimal material supply, and we do that already, and we are implementing right now the milk run supply to the lines. This is not only done in Dornbirn, we do this in parallel in our production plants in Nice. We have already done this in Spennymoor in the UK. So this is ongoing for several areas within Zumtobel Lighting. Lighting is a subject. I see lighting is changing where I am, but it's cooler now. And in parallel, we're creating the digital factory. As I said, best practice logic processes are already in process. I think it's almost done. Konos is already live. And now SAP EWM and SAP ME are coming live on February next year. We are in the last stages of doing that, and it appears to be very promising. The most important thing is that we need to communicate changes. As I said, we will not copy today's world. We will create a new world in logistics. That means we need to tell people what we are doing, why we are doing it, where's the improvement for everybody, what is the change, what does it mean? And this is really critical right now, as people seem to come to work on Monday and do not find their workplace anymore if we don't communicate that properly. But we have to do that, and it's my personal job and my team's job to tell that to people every day. Changes in thinking and changes in working proactively needs to be communicated and presented to the people. I think this is the most essential to take people with on our journey. It's our journey, not mine. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Martin, for those very interesting insights into your digital factory. So you've already mentioned that we want to talk a bit about the lessons learned. You've mentioned in the beginning that obviously digitalization is a journey, and I think you have already come quite far on that journey, but it never ends. So what are the lessons learned until now in terms of processes, in terms of the production?
From now, already we know that it was a good decision, and I would always do that again, to bring in a cross-functional team. Mm-hmm. So just being people working in logistics and are logistics experts, which I'm not, they can't create the real world. You need to have the customers of logistics on board as well. Mm-hmm. That means production people must be involved. People of the engineering department who need to design new things. People of IT are very important. Yeah. IT is giving us a broad guidance and recommendation which IT tool is the right one, which tools can we later on use. And we need to have the right external partners who bring in new insights that we would not have developed on ourselves. No. Sometimes you're blind on things, and others come and say, you can do it that way. It is even easier than you've done it 30 years ago.
That's what I want to say, because you always, well, we've always done it that way, but then you need an external side. Okay, you've mentioned also that you had to move people's jobs, or that you have to tell people, okay, from now on you're doing something else. I guess that is quite difficult for the workforce, for the people. How did you manage that, and what did you learn from that?
We managed that by being honest. Mm-hmm. You can always tell nice things and they will never happen. You have to be honest and say, we want to do that, that is the goal, we need to go there. And when people understand the goal, and this is the most essential thing, they start to move that direction. Some need a little bit more push than others. Creating the excitement about the change is essential. I think we caught about 50% by creating excitement, and the other 50% of the people we need to continuously push a little bit. We are in the fortunate situation right now that we are lacking for materials. Yeah. In this position, it's a fortunate situation because we are forced to do changes every day and to be flexible. And we have managed to give about 30% of the crew right now a different job within the last month.
Oh, wow.
Move from that assembly line to another. Move from doing welding jobs to assembly moves. So people change already and see it's good to their benefit to have a broader experience. They are more valuable to the company, and that logistics comes on top. And I think the flexibility is given in the right now. And I see that the management's behind that. They are supporting that from top. I have my colleagues who support me, and I see that even the Works Council is supporting that. So it's one team, and it's an international team, as this is only the first step is in Dornbirn. We create the template for all the other international sites of lighting in Zumtobel, and they are involved in the project. The colleagues from Niche, from Spenimo, from Lemgo, they're all in this project, give their inside view, tell us where are their legacy systems, what do they need to keep for a certain reason, that we simply do not roll over everything and say, this is the way. So that dialogue is essential.
So really take them with you and be honest.
Not always easy.
I can imagine. Well, unfortunately, that's the way. It's not an easy journey, but I think it's worth it. And I assume you also have a personal goal that you would like to get out of this journey. Like, let's say 2 years from now on, where would you like to be, in which stage of your journey?
In 2 years from now, the goal is to deliver every customer the product they want at that time. They deserve it and they want it. And then we would done everything right regarding logistics and planning.
I guess this is the right and correct answer, thinking about the customer's view. Well, Martin, this has been really lovely. Thank you so much for introducing the plant in Dornbirn to us and everything that's new. So have a great rest of the event, and thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest. Thank you. Bye-bye.